to sing with our hearts, make a melody, teaching others with the songs that we sing. We've got to sing with our hearts, make a melody.
Welcome to From Pitch to Praise, a podcast dedicated to inspiring and equipping worship leaders, ministers, and song leaders within the church.
I'm Matt Parker from Infusion Ministries.
And I'm Alan Baggett. Together, we're here to share insights, stories, and practical tools to help you lead your congregation in heartfelt, God-honoring worship.
Whether you're leading worship from the pulpit, in a classroom, or just seeking to deepen your understanding of what it means to praise God in song, this is the podcast for you.
Let's explore the harmony between leadership, faith, and worship. Welcome to From Pitch to Praise.
Make a melody.
We are back.
We are back.
We're back.
Man.
In the same clothes?
No, dude, these are not the same clothes.
It is the same clothes.
This
It is the same clothes.
It's not, because for them, it's been 2 weeks.
But
At least.
for me, it's not. Anyways.
For us, it's been 12 minutes. But for them, 2 weeks. Sorry.
But
Sorry, y'all.
we're in our makeshift studio here, our temporary studio here in Oklahoma City. Well, Dale City, Oklahoma.
Dale City, Oklahoma.
This site of this year's Worship Leader Institute. We're getting to interview and talk to our friends.
We're on the road, man.
We're on the road, man. These are people that we have just grown to love and part of our network. So we're just continuing our series of just talking to these folks, and they have a lot more insight than I do. I can tell you that.
In experience.
And experience.
And let me just tell you, like there could be a bit of an intimidation level, but I have learned that these guys, and this one's no exception to this, are some of the coolest, most humble, down to earth guys. I think it's because of the job that they have. They're just sweet, worship leading, encouraging brothers. And today we've got a very special close
I want
friend
to
of mine.
add that they put their pants on the same way that
They do. One leg at a time.
One leg at a time.
Let me introduce my good friend here with us today, Mr. Kevin Schaffer. Everybody.
Kevin Schaffer.
Yay,
Not
Mr. Kevin.
Mr.
Not
Kevin.
Mrs.
Not
Mrs.
the leader of the David Letterman band.
No,
No.
that's a different Schaffer.
That's
Y'all
a different
related?
Schaffer. No, not that I know of.
He said no.
No, I don't think so.
I haven't asked that question yet.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. So Kevin is, I think we should rename. I know it's tenor 1, high tenor, but
High tenor,
I
yeah.
think sky tenor.
No.
Can we say? Can we
Well.
say sky tenor? First time I met Kevin was at the 40, Acappella 40 concert,
right.
and we'd had some interactions. Maybe WLI, maybe not.
No.
And that was before. And the first question, because I have listened to Kevin Schaffer's voice. For
I would have
a
stopped you
long
for a second.
time,
though.
man.
No,
And my
he
question.
fanboy
I did.
over acapella.
That's calmed down quite a bit, I think.
And it has. I'm grateful.
Yeah,
So,
but I
but I get to ask him like medical questions.
It works both ways.
And so,
There
yeah,
you go.
It
my wife's like,
totally-
"You got to stop calling him." I'm like, "Yeah,
See,
he can
my
he can
friend.
ask acapella questions."
yeah, it evens out. It evens out. So I've asked all my questions, but the question I asked Kevin, because I've listened to his voice, and I'll be honest, through my 20s, listening to Kevin, he was an encouragement for me to work on my tenor and to be a leader and to listen to other people and all sorts of things. And so I really appreciated his voice for clarity and tone. And the first question I asked, like, dude, so how much of that's head voice, falsetto, chest? And Kevin's response was, man, that's all chest, which is just mind-blowingly awesome.
It's weird. It's modified. I don't even know what it is anymore. So
Well,
I
you
just
know.
do it.
just
But if you know, Kevin was an acapella. When did you start with acapella? Because you were an intern.
I was actually an intern. Yeah,
For a
like
while.
in '93, the summer of '93.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, I did road intern for a summer.
Okay.
So I set up all the sound equipment, and they let us stand in back behind them and sing.
So how embarrassed are you about our setup here?
This is terrible.
Yeah, I
No,
figured as
just
much.
kidding.
Sorry.
No, I actually was in charge of. I don't know if you ever saw it, but they had like these slide projections. And it was like these 3 screens, and especially
Maybe,
behind
yeah.
the song Jesus Prayed in the Garden. So
Uh-huh.
I had the slides that would go back and forth.
Right.
There was 9 projectors with slides in them,
Mm.
and I think they worked twice. So, but
Are you talking about the rotary slides?
yes,
The old school.
yes,
Choices were made.
Wow.
yeah, and they were triggered, and so yeah,
That was- you talk about me being the creative guy. That was
that a
Keith.
Keith? That was a
Keith
Keith?
was like, let's,
Yeah,
let's do the projectors.
yeah, and so I had to set them up every time, and I think they worked twice. So.
Well,
And then after that summer, they asked me if I would come and intern in the studio.
Okay.
So I did a studio internship, and so I learned kind of that realm of recording and all that kind of stuff. And then Keith started this kind of Southern gospel group, and so I sang in vocal union.
Oh, which is, I mean, if I had to pick between acapella and vocal, I like both. Vocal union hits my heart.
I know. And then I actually sang with AVB for like 9 months. There was a transition. So they put me in AVB,
And
which
he actually still knows some of the dances.
there are photos out there that we have burned. So, and then
there's somewhere.
Yeah, and then one night I actually lived in Gary Moyer's basement.
Mo.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mo.
Yeah.
And so, but he had an office upstairs, and so he brought me in his office one night and said, "Hey, I'm coming off the road, and we wanted to know if you wanted to be an acapella." And said yes. I didn't have to think about it. So
here's the cool part about this is because we may have Mo on. And so we could ask him about, so what was it like to have Kevin Schaffer in your basement?
And then we're going to compare stories because he won't
Yeah.
know. We're going to see who's telling the truth.
Yeah.
So when did you start singing with vocal union? What was the year?
Oh, that
I mean, you sang with acapella and vocal union. What years?
Yes, I'm terrible with numbers.
Oh.
So about 94-ish
Okay.
is when vocal union started.
Yeah.
So we did the first album we did was just I think it was traditional because we
Okay.
didn't have a name yet, and then we did vocal union.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
And so I was on those two albums. So whatever those years were, and then about 95 or 96 is when I got into acapella.
Got it. And married
And
met your wife
on a cruise.
on an acapella cruise.
cruise.
That's
we met on an
Talk
acapella
about
cruise.
fanboying.
Yeah,
Fangirling.
but she didn't.
Fangirling?
But here's the
Yeah,
thing: she
yeah.
didn't know I was an acapella. I had just gotten acapella, and her parents had always wanted to go on a cruise,
Okay.
and acapella was doing this cruise, and so they invited her,
Wow.
which she really didn't want to go because she was in the middle of school and she was very studious and she was going to miss some college.
Yeah.
But she came, and we kind of had a connection. And
Did you drop the bomb though? Be like, oh yeah, girl.
well,
I'm an
no,
acapella.
she didn't know I was an acapella. It wasn't until like the second night, and we actually did a concert, and I get up on stage, and
Yeah.
she sees that I'm an acapella. Yeah.
Hey.
So yeah, and then here's the thing. So we dated because I traveled. So we dated by phone,
Payphone.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and
If you don't know
and
what
so
that is, look
about a
it up.
year later, I had her to Paris. Was where the studios were.
Paris, Tennessee.
Paris, Tennessee.
Not France.
Not France. Wow.
No, not
Oui, oui.
France. No, but I had to take her back to the airport the night we were having this special office party.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of depressed. So I come back to the office party.
Mm.
No. And I'd already talked to Keith a little bit that I was thinking about proposing. So we're sitting around, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to take your vacations away next year." And I'm like, "You can't do that," because I'm thinking in my head, thinking about proposing.
I need
That'd be
some time
terrible.
off.
Yeah. And he goes, "Yeah, we're going to do a tour in Australia." And I didn't care. I mean, I was like, okay. And so he said, I told them to be 4 singers and 4 wives. Well, there was only 3 were married.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
And I don't know what else happened. I'm like, oh, wait.
Oh.
Honeymoon, Australia. Free, honeymoon, Australia. On tour, acapella. And so anyway, I proposed, and she actually graduated, and a week later we got married, and like 4 days
Wow.
later we had a 2-week honeymoon
Wow.
in Australia with 15 other people. But
Yep.
it was
memorable for
It
sure.
was memorable, and
Yeah.
and then she was on the road with me for as long as I was in acapella.
What a blessing.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Cool.
So it said, and so I want to go this route because in acapella, and you're gonna, Kevin, y'all is a humble human being,
He
and
is.
but he is famous for one particular song,
Mm.
and I didn't grow up in this. So I'm learning,
He didn't.
but I didn't. I grew up. I Gaither vocal bands, which I like, saying kind of.
He's gone through the discography.
But I want
sort of
to
forced him.
say my wife, her grandmother. That sounds horrible. I'm sorry, but her grandmother loved acapella because for the first time, what she heard in church, acapella music, was now mainstream.
Mm.
And she gets CDs. One of her favorite songs, "Walkin That Line."
Yeah.
Aw.
And on her deathbed, she still loved that song.
It's
And that was a
beautiful.
couple years ago.
Wow.
I've never shared that with you, but that is a song that really meant the world to her, and it reminded her of we're walking a line.
Yeah.
That is you. singing on that.
You've had
Yeah.
some. I think and it was another maybe a podcast or an interview or something. Somebody asked you about that. Is there a story about being in Africa or someplace and you guys were singing that on tour? Tell us
So
about that.
yeah, so it was after I was out of the group, and Keith started doing these. Like he'd gather a group of acapella guys and then do a concert,
Mm.
and because we weren't touring really full time, and we went to Africa, and so I have to back up here.
There's a story.
Yeah,
here.
here we go.
So I was an acapella fan, and so I kind of still am. It's really weird.
I get it.
So, and so I'm on tour with Rodney Britt and Keith and George Pendergrass,
Mm.
and we're in Africa.
Now you're name dropping.
right now.
Now you're name dropping.
And so Keith starts the concert by doing the song a cappella, and so he's trying to get the audience to sing, and they're like singing all three parts, and like he doesn't really have to teach them, but it's just him. And then he goes, it's kind of missing something.
Mm.
And then Rodney Britt, I mean, I'm getting chills. I'm like, well, But so anyway, we sing, and they're singing like every word to every song. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's like halftime, and then Keith goes, "Go out there and sing Walkin That Line." And I was like, by myself. He goes, "Yeah, just go out and sing." I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I start singing it, and they sing every word.
Wow.
And I'm like, I think we're in Cape Town or one of those, and it was just like. And it was just surreal. It was just like, okay, this is weird.
What's the powerful? It's the power of music, and we talk about it quite a bit. God, I mean, I don't think it's just incidental that God created music for us to sing. I think it's a means to share the message.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it affects the vast majority of people. And acapella has just been have just been a vehicle for that message to people, and it's been powerful. I was I was cleaning out my basement. Not that long ago. Yeah. And I sent a picture to Kevin about it. I have an acapella, greatest hits. I don't remember what it was, but it was some concert that you guys recorded. I've got the VHS of this.
Oh, that's live in Paris.
Is it live in Paris? It's the one where you do you did the humpback whale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on. Time out. I'm not. What is the humpback whale?
I don't know that can you do it on this?
So at halftime, I would just talk about the ministry, but I did a little comedy routine.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do impressions.
Okay.
So for example, I would do a dolphin. And then,
really happening, right?
and then I would say I could do a humpback whale. So a little reverb on that, by the way, will make that effective. And then I would do a sea anemone.
A sea anemone.
Sea anemone.
Anemone.
Yeah.
Anemone.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Since it's
For those who are listening on the podcast, he just put his hands up, wiggled
my
fingers.
fingers.
Great.
Yes, so. And then I would do this thing called the rainstorm, and so I would do this really cool thing across.
We
the
do
islands.
that. Yeah, I'd love doing that.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
That's awesome.
That was fun.
Well, I've still got the VHS. So if you guys want to see that, Kevin has given me authorization to go ahead and just put that out on the interweb. So there'll be a link. Just kidding.
For those of you who don't know what a VHS is, though,
I'll have to figure out how to convert that over to a Spotify link. But
So Kevin, so obviously, acapella is not touring. I mean, you guys do some stuff now. You did the 40-year 2 years ago.
yeah.
And obviously, shameless plug here. On New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, Keith is now putting together a worship marathon. Last year, some of the vocal or acapella guys, vocal unit came. Will you be involved in it this coming year?
I'm not sure
know?
yet.
I hope so.
But so that my point is, you get together. Once
Oh,
a
yeah,
month.
This is Madison, Church of Christ in Madison, Tennessee.
Yeah.
The point is we get together. But so obviously you're not traveling anymore. So what are you doing now?
Oh, so I am
Transition.
He's a sea anemone herder.
I have. So I go around doing impressions. I'm actually the worship minister at the Central Church of Christ in Amarillo, Texas.
Amarillo
by morning. Yeah. So okay, do you have to pay rights for that?
Do I?
No.
Sorry about that.
What have you done?
Amarillo.
But anyway, I've been there 18 years. So
Wow.
yeah, since 2008.
18.
That's because most ministries, I guess, the leaders stay on average now 3-5 years, and then they're moving on.
Yeah.
So it's pretty impressive. So what's been the key to your longevity there?
It's the leadership in the church and the other ministers. I mean, one of the other ministers just celebrated 25 years there.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
I mean, it's just I've just been really, really blessed to be at a great church. You know,
That's
they love music, they love worship. It's an amazing leadership. You know, and I'm also strangely, I'm just also really loyal. You know, because I mean, we've been through. I think that we're on a third preacher change since I've been there. You
Wow.
know, it's just a good church. Just love the people. So
That's great.
Well, that's a great transit, because the next question I have for that is, being there that long, you've obviously seen the church, the culture obviously has gone through some transitions. How did you navigate some of those challenges, good times, bad times? Like, what was kind of when you got down, how did you get up, and what were some of the challenges, and how have you seen the church change over 18 years?
it's actually changed quite a bit. That navigating the challenges, as odd as this is going to be, is I stayed consistent.
Gotcha.
You know, as odd as that is, and I think that's important. You know, when you're going through a preacher change, and then you know, you got visiting preachers for a year.
Yeah.
You know, you become the familiar face.
Yeah.
And what you do every week is so that people can navigate that change. I don't do a lot of change. Does that make sense? And so, I mean, I just can try to be consistent in what I do, how I do it. You know, even if it's introducing a new song, we do it kind of the same way. So I think that's important. You know,
Gotcha.
no sweeping changes. In fact, when I got there, I didn't do a whole lot of new things. It was like, okay, what do you know? What are you know? What's your culture like?
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times guys will go in and it's like, we're just going to change everything because I'm the new guy. You know?
Right.
And you can't do that.
That's the worst thing you can do. I learned that from experience in other churches. Well, we're just going to do this. You know, forget your traditions. Like, we're going to do all the new songs. And I remember having a conversation in my mind, in my spirit. And I hesitate saying it this way, but you'll know what I mean. I feel like God was kind of talking to me in this moment and said, you know what? You want to do all these new songs, which was great, but I'm going to use a song that I wrote 100 years ago, or I can use a song that I wrote 5 minutes ago. It's not about you and what you like.
Correct.
It's about me. And that really woke me up to the fact that, you know, why am I trying to push some agenda as a word going into a new church to try to put look at me? It was about me. And that was a hard lesson to learn as a young worship minister. And I've tried to help young folks not make that same mistake.
Right. And see, for me, I'm coming into worship ministry, you know, later in life.
Yeah.
Having traveled with Acappella, there was so much of that experience, right, that I was able to observe and watch, that I was able to bring that skill set. You're right. So that was also very useful. That really helped a whole lot in that transition.
So if there's somebody, let's say we got a young guy who's getting ready to graduate college and wants to do full-time worship ministry, what would be the biggest recommendation, encouragement that you could give to him straight out of school, getting ready to start at a new church?
Wow, that's a good one. Relationships are so important. Build relationships. Spend that first year just getting to know people, letting them get to know you. Don't try to make like vast sweeping changes. Like, don't try to start if there's not a praise team, don't try to start one that year. Just get to know people and get to know what music that church is doing, and then figure out ways to introduce new stuff. I mean, you don't have to wait an entire year to do that, but just, you know, don't try to do things too quickly.
Take your time.
What is best for your church? Well, I'll tell you too, and again, so what you may not know is Matt and I, we're stalkers,
Oh no.
Well, I mean, not that way, but we stalk
I don't
live.
know.
Should you say that on? We stalk live streams.
Okay.
And I've enjoyed watching Kevin Schaffer's live stream every once in a while. I go check it out just to see what songs they're doing. And I'll tell you, and I think this is conveyed, and it's important, is when you're leading, you lead with such joy that people can see your heart. And we talk about that here quite a bit, how it's so valuable to lead with joy and lead out of overflow. Kevin, do you have comments on what you see as being valuable about that? Why is that useful in terms of leading from the stage or doing something new? Why is it, you're talking about relationships, but why do you lead from a joyous position?
I can't help it.
It's the fault for Kevin.
Well, no, I'm just, you lead out of your reaction, right, to what God has done.
Yeah.
Your relationship with Christ.
Mm.
You know, I think you lead out of that, and as well. I also just I love it. I love leading worship.
passionate about
I'm
it.
passionate about it, and when it comes to like smiling, there's something about joy that unlocks something in people.
Mm.
And I'm not. I'm gonna go kind of the extreme because
Okay.
I'm going to talk about laughter. So every once in a while, Acappella would go to prisons, and we would sing. You know, and I mean, these guys are they're rough, right? And then we would do Everybody Said and Shut the Door. These really kind of in the middle of the set, funny things, and they would just laugh. You know, they thought this was
Wow.
hilarious, and then we'd hit Amazing Grace.
Mm.
That's a
Just
shift.
as I
That's
am.
yeah.
You know, these rescue, right? And I mean, these guys would just melt. And it's because when you smile and share laughter with each other, you've opened up something that you can't open up by having a serious conversation.
There's a barrier there.
There's a
that gets
barrier,
broke down.
right? And I think that's the same thing with joy, right? Not everybody's going to feel joyful that day, and that's not your responsibility.
Right.
But if you can convey joy, people are like, oh, you know, I don't know. It does.
It's
I think
the genuineness.
It
Yeah.
reminds you. I think it reminds you. There's joy in the Lord. There's the joy is from the Lord, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But you know, I heard a great. I heard a great quote by a preacher at Acappella Line, Trey Durden. Shout out. He said, "Peace is joy at rest. Joy is peace dancing."
Ooh.
Oh.
I like that.
Just let that sit for a minute.
Yeah. We should put that in a quote, I think, somewhere.
Well, he's already got it.
Oh, okay. Well,
But peace
Oh,
is
but
joy
wait.
at rest.
I'm gonna pull up my phone because I've got a quote I need to share with y'all.
Now
'Cause
we're
I-
going quotes.
Because I had to take a picture of it because it was in some notes that I had, and I cannot attribute to who this said that, and I apologize, but yes, Jack Reese. You ever heard of Jack Reese?
that name sounds familiar.
Dude, he came and did a whole curriculum on worship.
Oh,
And so
okay.
he actually had a class, and he taught it like a pre-class to the teachers.
Mhm.
And let me find the one quote that was just like, celebration without surrender is empty,
Celebration without surrender is empty.
but
Wow.
surrender without celebration is ingratitude.
Ooh,
Ouch.
that burns.
Mm,
Get off my toe, man.
mm,
Daggone.
So I know I'm like, and I've just been chewing on that, right? And so
Surrender without celebration is ingratitude.
yeah.
That's
right?
Yeah. Celebration without surrender, right, is
I know we
All
messed
the
it up.
time.
Yeah, the first part, but that
Yeah.
second part, yeah.
is
Surrender.
empty. So celebration without surrender is empty. I was talking to a guy who was leading worship at a youth place, and he goes, "These kids are all talking, you know, and whenever they would get to his song,
Mm-hmm.
their song, they would be and they would just praise, and then they would, you know,
Go back to their normal.
that just seemed, you know, ingenuine, right? But surrender without celebration is ingratitude.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah. So
That's-
Wow.
That's a weighty
We
one.
talk a lot about that being genuine.
mhm.
It's important.
Yeah, it is.
We can't give that enough weight.
Well, and speaking of that about being genuine, this just hit me. You obviously had years of the performance side of the
Mm.
Christian genre,
Mm.
and then now you're in the worship side. And there's so many times that I've heard it. I know you've heard it. Well, you're just performing, putting your hands up and all that stuff. Well, no, I'm operating over. How was that a difficult transition for you? Is there a difference in your mind? Can you speak to that? But from a performance stage to worship stage, or speak to that if you can. If there is a, I just stumped him. I've done it
that's a good
again.
one.
No,
That's a hard
I'm trying to
question.
figure out how to say this. I don't. I've been doing it for so long that it's just part of who I am. I mean, I was on stage in college, did musicals and stuff. I mean, I enjoy the stage. A lot of people go, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "Well, that's just part of
Part
who
of
I
your
am.
DNA,
It
right?
is
Just
part of my
there,
DNA." But and when you're in acapella and you sing certain songs every night, and you're
Mhm.
singing them, 200, 300 times a year,
Yeah.
for different things. You have to be able to find something and every once in a while the songs would get dry.
Sure.
But you know what? Every time I sing For the Lost,
Mm.
dude, and it's the simplest song I think we sing, and it still hits me every time. I was watching an infomercial, and it was all these country people. They were trying to do something similar that Gaithers do, sitting around in the
Yeah.
living room, and they were talking about all these country songs.
Mhm.
That was
And-
Hee Haw, wasn't it? I'm just
Well,
kidding.
it was, yeah, but I mean, it was all these country singers recalling all these. Oh, do you remember that song was saying? You know, and it just felt so empty
Mhm.
because their songs have no value.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
But when you sit around and you sing Amazing Grace and you've sung it for the millionth time and it still has depth and value, right?
That speaks to, again, we say this a lot, encounter, experience, expression. At some point, somebody during that song had an encounter with God, and they remember that, which it affects your expression then. So that expression now is, you may lift your hands, you may close your eyes, or you may have tears, which then goes to your the outward flow, that remembrance of that time. So you can sing it 1,000 different ways, 1,000 different times, but you're still going back to that moment. And that's where hymns, and we've talked about in previous podcasts, there's a part of the brain that will take you back
Mhm.
to that place. And it just hit me. Take me back, dear Lord, where I first believed. It's an old. It's not Marvin Sapp. It just went blank.
Matt's repertoire and mine are
I
not
know
the
it's way
same.
different,
Not
but
The
it's,
Venn
oh my
diagram
goodness,
overlaps some,
Anyways, he
but incompletely.
I can't remember the guy's name now. I went blank, but that song
We'll
just hit
Google
me
it later.
because it's take me back, dear Lord, to where
yeah.
the place I first.
When I was in
believed.
college, I was a counselor at church camp, and I remember we were on top of a mountain, and we were singing, "You are beautiful beyond description, too
Mhm.
marvelous for words," and there was a storm off in the distance,
Oh,
and we're looking over in a valley, and this lightning, we saw the lightning, too wonderful for comp, and so we get to, I stand, and the thunder hit,
And the thunder rolled.
you know,
right.
and I will always remember that when we sing, "Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder." It was that first year of church camp that I'm a counselor, and I see the stars, and I kid you not, a shooting star,
Oh, okay.
and I hear the rolling
Wow.
thunder, and lightning was off in the distance.
Come on, man.
And
That's
so
pretty awesome,
yeah,
y'all.
it is its experience, and I think that's the struggle. A lot of worship leaders, especially with new songs, is because the older generation hasn't had an experience with that song, but our younger generation has, right? And so, how do you also find moments in your worship to help people have an experience with, So, all my life you have been faithful,
Mhm.
and you speak before that when talking about while you're singing this song, think about all those times that God has been with you, right? And so you kind of prompt them, and then you sing this song,
Yeah,
right?
opens them up.
So,
We serve an awesome creator,
Hmm.
and music's an awesome thing. And I'm so thankful of the influence Kevin has had on me personally, and the friendship that we have, and how music has brought us together, and this whole family. This church family that we have. It's an honor and a privilege to get to sing next to these guys. It's an honor and a privilege to sing here at Worship Leader Institute. And so I guess our last question for you tonight, Kevin, if you could tell, speaking to worship leaders, give us some guidance about making relationships. What are your thoughts about Worship Leader Institute?
Why should they come?
Why come?
it's so.
The food's really good.
Oh, no. So Keith has always told me, "Hey, Kevin, you need to come to Worship Leaders Institute. You need to come." And I'm like, "Dude, I've been leading worship for 15, 16 years, and you need to come." And I'm like, And finally, he said, "Look, I want you to coach, but I need you to go through the program first." Okay. And so finally, it actually worked out where I could go, and it's humbling.
It is.
Right. And so when you have, this sounds terrible, but when you have first year people who are just learning how to conduct, and I was a music major and I took conducting classes, and they're like, "Well, you need to work on making it more clear." And I'm like, and then you're like, "Oh,
Jules has a way of really making you feel.
You're right, and working the mic, and getting your congregation, and so I went back changed. It was like, it was wonderful. It was like, okay. And there was just certain things. It's like, I hadn't thought through that, and how you look at the church and congregation moving back and forth. And it just gives you more intentionality,
Right.
and then when you do that enough, right, when you do it enough, then it becomes just a part of who you are. Then you don't have to worry about that anymore. But then you need to come back because you need to dust off a few things.
Yeah,
So, but
important.
no, this has been.
So if Kevin Schaffer can say that he valued personally by being a student here, I don't know that there's any of us that can't learn something. I think we've all got some growth. Is that saying it right? I think we all can learn.
Well, and I have to go back because now it's bothered me enough to where I have to finish this out. It was Andre Crouch.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote "Take Me Back." Anyway, it's just gonna bother me if I didn't clear that up.
We have to, I think, for copyright purposes. So.
Yeah, and I can't. But it says, take me back, dear Lord, to the place where I first believed you. Take me back, dear Lord, where I first believed. So Andre Crouch. So that was going to bother me all night if I didn't come with that.
It's okay.
Right. So. Well, Kevin, we're so thankful. Thank you for coming and being a part of our From Pitch to Praise podcast, and for sharing with us on your insights and singing a little bit with us tonight. And for you guys listening, thanks for coming back on whatever episode this is now. We've lost count, but we're excited. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
It's been fun.
We'll see you, I guess, 2 weeks again?
They'll see us.
We'll see
won't
y'all.
see them.
We might.
We can't see through the camera.
Wish we could, though.
Okay, we're going off. See you guys. Love y'all. See you next time.
Bye.
We've got to sing with our hearts, make a melody, teaching others with the songs that we sing. We've got to sing with our hearts, make a melody.
Thanks for joining us on From Pitch to Praise.
We hope this episode has encouraged you and given you new ideas to inspire your worship leadership.
If you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review to help others discover the podcast.
And don't forget to connect with us through infusionministries.org or follow us on social media for more resources and updates.
Until next time, keep leading with faith, love, and a heart full of praise.
We'll see you back here on From Pitch to Praise.
Praise the Lord and teach His word.